My car and your car can see the opposite. We can take it over to the air show.
I'm John Seaman, and I'm here at Road America Racetrack in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, with Kerry Kautzer. We're covering the Brian Redman International Challenge. Many marques will be represented this weekend, including Ferrari, Austin Healey, Porsche, Triumph, and MGs. Of special interest this weekend will be one of the vintage production cars from the 1960s. That car is old Yaller II, which was campaigned here at Road America in an inaugural race of the track in 1960. There are also other well-known cars, such as several Formula One cars that have raced in the 70s.
Person, you can go down there and sign up, and so you've got room.
I'm with Duncan Dayton, and he has Mario Andretti's Formula One car that was raced in 1979. Could you tell us some of the history about the car?
Sure. It's a there were 4 chassis, and it's the chassis that Mario raced at Zandvoort and won there outright. He then went on to race it at Monza and won on the road the day Peterson was killed, and was demoted to 6th. He was penalized a minute for jumping the start. Both he and Lola were. But he finished 6th, but it was with those points that he actually won the World Championship and clinched it in this chassis here. I've had the car only for about 10 days. We just bought it from a guy in California by the name of Gary Arnst, who's had the car for quite a while. It came with all kinds of original setup sheets and letters from Peter Ware at Lotus, and an amazing amount of documentation and backup stuff on the car. Unfortunately, we're not running it here today. We were running it, but we found that we've got cracked front rotors, and at 175, 80 miles an hour, you don't want to have a rotor explode at a place like Elkhart. So we've parked it. We've got spare rears, but we don't have any spare fronts, so we're out for the weekend with this car, unfortunately.
Could you tell us about the engine size, makeup, displacement?
It's a Cosworth DFV 3-liter V8 injected car. It's pretty much the standard motor that ran from 1966 to 1983. There were very few cars who had different motors. Alfa and Ferrari ran different motors, and BRM a little bit at the beginning, but it was pretty much the standard issue motor for all of Formula One for those years.
Was Mario the only driver that campaigned the car, or do you know if there's any other drivers that have had history in it?
Mario campaigned it pretty extensively. The following year, I can't think of who else drove it, but the second year it was driven sort of as a backup car. The Lotus 80, which succeeded this car, was not a very successful design, and so they pressed these into service just to try and stay competitive. But by that point, everybody else had caught up, and the Williams were copying these cars and doing a better job, frankly, of duplicating what this was and then building on the success from there. So.
After Road America, do you plan on campaigning the car anymore this year?
Yes, we'll race it at Laguna Seca and the Monterey Historics in August, and then we'll probably take it apart and go through it all throughout the winter and make sure that everything's as it should be.
Well, it's too bad you won't get to drive the car extensively here at Road America because of the size of the track, but good luck to you the rest of the season.
Great, thanks very much, I appreciate it.
I'm with Ernie Nagamatsu, and he has one of the very prominent cars that has raced here at Road America in the past. This is old Yaller II. Could you tell us about its previous owner, the track history, and the restoration?
First of all, the track history, we're here and we came all the way from Los Angeles because it's the 40th anniversary, almost to the week, that Carroll Shelby raced this car. And at that time, he was in his last year of racing, and he was racing Maseratis, but he had his choice of any car, and he decided to bring out this Buick Special because for this track, which is 4-mile track, the Buick horsepower was perfect. And so it was the first major pro race at Road America in 1960, July 30 and 31. And he raced against a Scarab, and he raced against a Maserati Streamliner from the factory. So I came across the car. I was friends with Max Bachaska for many, many years before I got the car. I had the trophies and I had the programs and newspaper clippings, as this car was notorious for its look and its horsepower. It was a little crude, but it was competing against the very best, sleekest, exotic imports from Europe. And so it raced against the Testarossa Ferraris, it raced against the birdcage Maseratis, and it raced against all of the specials, the Listers, the Devons, the Porsches, and it did well. because of durability. He used components, and it's called Old Yeller based on the movie Old Yeller. And this car, contrary to a Ferrari, which comes out of the box and they don't change it throughout the season, sometimes this car would make up to 20 changes, minor changes during a season if the brakes weren't just right. These are aluminum Buick drums. They started out with a Studebaker Champion rear, and it had a Morris Minor steering rack, had a Studebaker 1954 truck radiator. And why a truck radiator? Because that was the biggest core at that time. And then the tires, as you can see here, were white-walling the tires. And the reason is Max Bachowski did a lot of testing on tires before they had racing tires. He would work with the tire companies, and he would recap good carcasses, and he would change the cure times to get a soft compound, as soft as he could without throwing it. And he came across in 1959 station wagon. One station wagon had Goodyear Blue Streaks, very soft. They recalled the tires, but before they recalled it, he and his friends hustled up stacks and stacks of white wall tires. So you'll see pictures of the old Yaller II racing at Riverside like in 1959 with white wall tires against the Scarab and the Testarossas, and they thought that he was being a prankster and he was being playing jokes on them, and it wasn't so, because he was really well ahead of his times. He was testing the heat in the tires, he was testing the softness and hardness, and he had a cadre of engineers just like Lance Reventlow and the Scarab, but contrary to Troutman and Barnes and all the greatest engineers of the day, he had people that didn't really have a name. He took an engineer that was an expert in metallurgy. He had an engineer that was expert in chassis design. And so he used all these people. They were like his secret groupie. And so they would all go to the track, and they didn't have a transporter and they didn't have uniforms, but it was a strongest contingent of knowledge that he assembled, because he was willing to learn from every individual that had some special knowledge. He had special brake linings made before. You know, they didn't have many. Everybody had drum brakes. They were starting with Girling. They were starting with disc. But he was well into special linings that they would make for him, just for him, for this race car, to do experimentations. And I have letters to Buick. Buick, you know, gave him engines. There was correspondence going back and forth about some of the heating problems, and he was helping, trying to solve that for Buick. In turn, he was developing like an aluminum head, and I have blueprints and drawings. It's amazing. He was writing to England. They were asking him, and I have a great picture of this being tested at Riverside Raceway, and right next door, the same day, they were testing the Scarab Formula One. And the Troutman Barnes teams that spent millions into this Formula One effort were under this car, looking at this car, seeing how it was set up, because they were doing the same thing, but not in the manner Max did. Max used parts, and they fabricated. Troutman and Barnes fabricated, and he used a Pontiac lower A-arm, and he special uprights, special spindles. He designed everything, but the body really didn't matter. The aerodynamics didn't matter. He figured horsepower counts, get it to the ground, and if you get to the corner first, and I think there's one story that Bob Bondurant told me, which was really exciting. He was one of the drivers like Dan Gurney and Carroll Shelby, and Bob Bondurant was racing at Vacaville in California, and he had been racing a lot of great cars, but everybody respected Max. So he said, "Max, how do you drive this old Yaller II? I mean, is there anything special that I should watch for, the clutch or the brake?" He said, "No, only one thing." He said, "I measured out the front straight, and what you do as soon as they give the green flag, don't forget, Bob, all you do is you keep it in high gear and punch it, and it'll catch up. Let everybody pass you, don't worry." And he shook his head a little bit, and he says, "Well, sure." So he came down the front, and he kept it in fourth, and everybody passed him. And he kept it in fourth, and he passed everybody up, and by the first turn, he was well ahead of the whole pack. and that's why he worked out the torque factor. He knew it had great torque, low-end torque, and so that's what he based his racing on. And the other thing is that he was a master of understanding what it took in weight distribution. So just recently we weighed the corners again, and it is truly amazing. Just like he designed it, it's 55% to the rear wheels, and for a front engine car and like a Buick that's like a boat anchor, it is a phenomenal feat to get that engine so far back to get 55 to the rear. It's kind of like the Cheetah concept, the Cheetah racing car. The only problem with the Cheetah is that the wheelbase was too short, and so it's very twitchy. But he worked out the ideal length of this car, and that was one of the secrets. And again, the nailhead Buick is called nailhead because it had tiny little valves, and he kept everything very, very loose, just so that he could run it and test it and things won't break. Because in the 50s, I think the main thing that you see if you look at the race programs or race summaries, people broke. People broke all the time. Transmissions, linkage, something would break. And what he would do is that he would test it on the streets at night. But the other thing he would do is they just started drag racing. And so, like, he would go to San Fernando drags, and he was famous. So as he would drive up late at night, they'd open the gates for him, and they just, as soon as he came in the gates, the announcer would say, "Here's Max Bachowski with Old Yaller II," and they let him go right to the front. They stopped racing, and he would hammer it and make a run, and he would get a trophy, and he'd leave the trophy for the other guys. All he wanted to do is make a couple passes to see the torque in his gearing, everything's running right. He'd wave to everybody, go home. And that's why he had a cross-section of fans. It's unbelievable. Here we even see it today after all these years, because he came from hot rod street racing and he learned everything. He went to the dry lakes and he learned a lot about straight runs, and he did the drags. He learned about short, torquey runs and what it takes to win there. And then he did road courses. And so I think with that background and over the years, he had hot rod fans, he had American Special fans, he had lake fans, and he had sports car fans. And then he was a perennial all-American underdog. Everybody was cheering. When Old Yeller came in, they really had a special kind of passion and spirit and feeling for a car, different than today. Like, not to say take anything away from Roger Penske and Card and all the great cars, but there he was a person, he was a car, he was everything. And these are his original headers, and if you look at all the pictures, this little separation in the door was there when he first raced it, when Dan Gurney raced it, when Carroll Shelby raced it, and when it ended, this car raced from 1959 to 1974. And that is a legend in itself, because for a race car to last that long today is impossible. And what it ended up being is the whole middle section stayed the same. They made a swoopy body for it. They went to wide rims, to 8.5-inch rims. They used big tires, and they used disc brakes with a Chevy engine. And so that's what it looked like at the very end of racing in 1974. So for any car to go from 1959, when it was built, all the way to 1974 with a Buick engine, and it's just incredibly awesome. So that's, yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Ernie. That's just a wonderful history of the car, and it's great to see it here at Road America. And I know it raced most of its life on the West Coast, but it did race back here and around too, so it's great to have it back on the track again.
Great. Thank you very much.
The car we're going to hear about now is a 1953 Allard J2. Can you tell us about this car and its history?
This is 1953 Allard JR. It was built by Sidney Allard, and he made 7 of these cars. 2 of them went to Le Mans in 1953 as the factory team. Sidney drove 1, and Zora Duntov, who was a factory engineer at Allard, drove this car at Le Mans. Zora later went on to become famous for the Corvette, which he gets credit for. This car ran for about 7 hours at Le Mans and eventually fried the engine, and that was it. And it never finished the race. It then came to the U.S. and was owned at one time by General Curtis LeMay, who was the head of the Strategic Air Command in those days. And since he could not race because of his exalted position in the military, he had his public relations officer, Reed Tilley, drive this car in SCCA races around the country, and it was quite successful.
How long have you had this car then, and do you campaign this one also?
Oh yes, I've had this car since about 1980, and it's been all over the country, and it's run in many vintage races, and it's a very quick car, although it's not very subtle. It goes where it wants to go, and you're along for the ride.
Maybe it'll make you go real fast.
I'm with Syd Silverman, and he has a 1953 Curtiss 500. Would you please tell us about the car?
Well, this car was one of 7 built by Frank Curtis in California when he was trying to get into the sports car market in the early 50s. This is actually an Indy chassis. It's been widened 16 inches to get a second seat in it, but the suspension is basically the same as an Indy car, except that it has a Cadillac engine, an automatic transmission in it, and a quick change rear end. This car was originally raced in California by a fellow named Frank McGurk, who was known as Stroker McGurk in a very well-known cartoon strip of the time. And the car did very well in California club racing through the early 50s.
What did you have to do to the car to bring it back up? I see it's been fully restored, but did you do anything special to suspension or anything, or is that pretty much the way it was raced?
No, it's exactly the way it was raced. We put everything back the way it was. We put a new Cadillac engine in it, but it's the right size. It's a 331 Cadillac. It's probably developing 300, 325 horsepower. The automatic transmission is quite interesting because it's out of a World War II patent tank. And it's a 4-speed General Motors Hydromatic. And it's quite something. It's a wonderful lazy man's race car because you have disc brakes in there and you just shift it with one hand. And there's no clutch, so you brake with your left foot. And it's very easy.
The reason for the Cadillac engine, was that of that vintage one of the most powerful ones you could find for these cars?
Yes, it was also one of the lighter ones. You could get a Chrysler engine that would produce a little more horsepower at the time, but it was also about 200 pounds heavier. So the Cadillac was the choice of a lot of these sporty car people, builders in the early 50s. Allard used Cadillac engines, and a lot of the specials were very happy with those. And they were very reliable, too.
I've seen the car here at Road America before, but do you campaign at other tracks, too?
Oh, yes. We did 16 races last year, and this car went to practically all of them. And this is about our 5th or 6th race this year, and this car's been to all of those, too. It's very reliable, and it's not difficult to drive. It's not the world's fastest car, but I'm not the world's fastest driver either.
Well, thank you. It's very nice to see this history at Road America.
Well,
for the weekend. But 7 cars on the track, that's about 20,000 horsepower. That's going to be shaking the ground. These are 7 and 8-liter engines with Reynolds aluminum blocks on the Reynolds
Is that the official car? Gentlemen, start your engines.
Ladies and gentlemen, if we could, this is the driver of car number 28, Craig Bennett, Lola T222. Tell us about this ride today.
Well, it was great competition out there. My brother was right behind me, and of course George behind him, and I was just hanging on to stay in front, and fortunately the car didn't go away on me, so I was able to keep most of the same pace most of the race, where they couldn't.
Did I hear correctly that you told Brian Redman that you were running out of fuel in the last lap?
Yeah, in the second to last lap, I come out of the corner onto the front straightaway.
Stop it!
The car bogged down, and so I didn't see George behind me, so I thought I'd back off a little bit, and I went real easy. I got to the very last corner, and the car almost shut completely off. And it took till I got about halfway up the hill before it started up again.
So a good head of steam to get you there anyway. We've got some trophies to present to you. Here, if you would step right over here. The first place award, Judy Perry, you have the award here to give from Merrill Lynch. Well, that's great. Tell us about your ride today.
Well, it was one heck of a lot of fun, I can guarantee you that. I just want to thank my dad because he let me drive his car after mine broke down first thing on Thursday.
Well, that's what dads do.
Well, mine does. He's a great guy.
Now, after so many years, do you still say, Dad, can I borrow the car?
Well, fortunately enough, I don't have to. He's very giving.
All right, Jack, with a McLaren M1B. How was your ride today?
The Kotex Kleenex car ran real good, Bobby, and we had no problem.
But you need a hat to get all those on there, Jack.
That's right, and a head before that. No, we just drove like an old man going home from church, and we ended up here. I have no idea. I think I took the wrong turn off the track.
There's the champagne.
This award goes to the person considered by the jury here as to be the most deserving, embodying the spirit of Denny Hume. And this is going to Kurt Bennett. Hey, what a surprise. Well, say a few words to the happy crowd.
Well, once again, this has been one of the best events. We at our Motorsports look forward to this every year because we've always liked the Can-Am cars, and it's great that Craig and I get a chance to run together, and we've done it quite a bit. And maybe next year I'll run that 10th lap. It's been pretty tough to do, but at least Craig won it. It's good to see that he's won it again. So it's just a lot of fun. Wes and Henry put on a great show, and Merrill Lynch and everybody does a great job. So thank you.
Builder and crew chief on a lot of Indy cars, hanging up sprint car
man, he has definitely got that feel. In about 2.5 minutes.
With Rick Villate, and we're going to be reviewing several of the Porsche FTP cars today. These cars were raced in 1987. There's a Porsche 962C, as in Charlie, and that's a chassis number 962008. And the other car is a 962007. Can you tell us a little bit about the cars, where they raced, and some of the preparation that goes into the cars? These cars are being raced for some people, an owner from California.
Thanks very much for stopping by. What's unique about our cars are, number one, they are as designated by the signage, Group C cars, which signifies built for the European Championship, Porsche powered, of course, with water-cooled heads and cylinders. These particular cars have the, at that time, had the latest evolution of engine cooling and engine management. Another thing very unique about these particular cars are these were run by the Porsche factory and was really Porsche's last big push at Le Mans in 1987. There were 3 cars built. The number 1 car, designated with by number 17, was driven by Jochen Mass, Klaus Ludwig, and the other gentleman's name escapes me for the moment. The number 2 and 3 team cars, which are here, were driven by Michael Andretti, Mario Andretti, and the nephew Jeff Andretti, which was really unique in the first time that all 3 of the same family were together. Both cars have been here in the States since 1994, 95. We've done basic cosmetic restoration. We've also modified bodywork and a little bit of suspension just to take advantage of some of the later developments that came with the GTP program. And as you said, the collectors from California run the cars 3 to 4 times a year. We're usually at 2 events in California. We've come to love Elkhart Lake. The surroundings, the people, the ambiance makes it a major attraction for us. So we always mark this on our calendar, and then we'll probably be going to Daytona in November for a 2-hour enduro there. And we've had the cars for the first car we had since '96, the other car since '97. And we're having a very wonderful time with them, and hope to continue in the future. The car we're looking at right now is a Group C car coming from Europe, and differs in quite a few ways from the IMSA style cars that many of the fans here in the States saw running in the early and late 80s. The main difference is this engine is water-cooled cylinders and heads, and twin turbochargers. An IMSA specification car will be all air-cooled and a single turbocharger mounted on top of the gearbox.
Okay.
As you look inside the cockpit here, you can see some driver adjustable and driver controllable switches. We can alter our boost control. We can look at water temperature, oil pressure, gearbox temperature, throttle position angle, etc., and we can also adjust our mixture control, which in Europe would have been important for the long distance races. The key there is you're given a limited amount of fuel to cover a fixed distance, and the key is to go as fast as you can in the most economical fashion.
Now this is carbon fiber. A lot of the frame and all that's all carbon fiber, is it? Not the frame.
No, the monocoque is typical aluminum construction of the period. Bodywork is a combination of Nomex, honeycomb, carbon Kevlar laminates. The undertray tunnel here in the back is also constructed of carbon fiber and honeycomb. If you come back and take a look at the back of the car, you'll see also another characteristic unique of the Group C car. This is the large undertray. Typically in the States they didn't have this. In the early part of the series they did. As the series matured and the cars started getting faster and faster, they reduced the size of the tunnel, therefore reducing downforce, therefore reducing cornering speed, and really became a safety issue. But with this undertray, I think they've calculated a downforce of about 2,000 pounds. So you can imagine.
What speed would that be?
Yeah, that'd be about 180, 190. This particular layout you're looking at right now, this is the high downforce configuration, or a sprint course configuration. In Le Mans trim, they put a much smaller undertray, a different nose, a different tail on, because in Le Mans, top speed is the main concern. There's a straightaway there, the Mulsanne straight, almost 4 miles long. There, these cars approach 240 miles an hour, and you're at that sustained speed for some time.
Is that any better?
And Quinten, Columbus, Ohio, the number 5, and Colorado, 64 GT40. 42, Howard Cherry, Blue Mounds, Wisconsin, a 67 GT40, number 47. Georgia, A150. For E-flappers.
I'm with Toby Bean, and he's going to tell us about a Nissan GTP-ZX turbo car from 1989?
88.
1988. So if you could give us a little bit of the history of the car.
Well, there were 5 of them built, and this is the 5th out of the 5. And they ran in the IMSA GTP series from 88 until 1990 for this particular model.
Okay.
And there's 4 of them left, and this is one of the 4.
Now the size of the engine, and does this have twin turbos?
No, it's a 3-liter single turbo. In 1990, they went over to the twin turbo, which is similar to it was a completely different car.
Okay. Now this car does differ from the cars that were raced over in Europe in different classes?
Yeah, they were. In IMSA back then, it was almost turned into corporate warfare between Toyota, Nissan, and later on Jag. Well, really it came in Jag, then Toyota. And it was a very interesting period of time of racing.
So those cars were pretty competitive, all about the same setup, were they, or did one have an advantage over another?
Well, at first Nissan had the advantage because they were the first guys to show up with the really super high-tech cars, and then Jag came on the scene, and they were very competitive, and then ultimately Toyota finished up with the championship before they were really what I call outlawed.
Okay. When did you get the car, and have you been running it here at Road America and other events around the country?
I've had it about a year and a half, and this is the first time I rode America with it, which I was looking forward to. But we run it Daytona twice and Sebring and Atlanta. So I'm still getting used to it.
Brian French of Sheboygan, and Brian's been in this area for many years, and he races at Road America a lot. Brian just won his class in Formula Atlanta at the June Sprints this year. Right now, Brian is going to talk to us about a Formula One car, a Ferrari as a matter of fact. Can you tell us the history of the car and where you got it from?
The car is a 1993 John Alesi Ferrari Formula One car. The car originally went to Japan after it was retired in '93 season. And a gentleman from Panasonic had the car on display at Panasonic, and once they got tired of it, a broker from England bought it, and we bought it from the broker in England.
Now, could you explain the power plant of this car and the transmission, the automatic shifting, those type of things?
Okay, the power plant is 3.5 liter fuel-injected V12 and makes 750 horsepower at 15,200 RPM. And the 6-speed transmission is shifted with paddle shifters on the steering wheel.
I'm not sure if we said the weight of the car, but could you explain that, please?
Yeah, the weight of the car is 1,100 pounds.
So that's a very high horsepower to weight ratio then.
Very much so. Very fast.
Have you had a chance to drive it much?
We have about 200 miles on it so far.
Do you plan on campaigning it to any other races this year?
No, we'll be just here at Elkhart with it. We've still got some teething problems with brake rotors. With the carbon fiber rotors, we're having trouble getting those up to operating temperature. Operating temperature is 1,600 degrees Fahrenheit minimum, 2,000 maximum, and right now we figure they're running about right around 1,200 degrees, which is too low, and I really don't have much brakes at all. And the other problem we're dealing with for the weekend is the car is geared for 151 miles an hour top speed, and we're thinking the car is probably capable of 185, maybe 190 at this track, and so we're very, very much short of gear for the track.
Well, thank you, Brian. That's a very exciting car to have here at Road America.
Oh, thanks.